Guys, welcome to this session. What I'm going to talk about now is some policies and procedures that's critical for HR management. And what I've listed up on the board are seven, suggestions we could look at as some policies, because I know some of the guys struggle with some of the policies that's required in HR. So they are: number one, for example, the organisation might have a policy where the managing director or the department head for that instance requires the sign-off of the creation of a new position. So it's got to have that senior level of management to authorise a new job to be, or a new position to be created in the organisation. So that could be one policy. Another one is to ensure that all policies are compliant with the equal employment opportunities here in Australia, also comply with privacy laws and legislation, also with the national employment standards that we have here in Australia, also with, if there's any awards, that either industry-based awards or organisational awards, then any policies and procedures must be compliant or consistent with the award conditions. And also with workplace health and safety as well is a critical issue to acknowledge. Another policy could be a policy where the business actually, as a first initial step, will advertise internally prior to going external. In other words, through the internal job vacancy list, an organisation would only make an available position for internal candidates only. Once that process is exhausted, whether they've found a suitable candidate or not, or if they have, they won't proceed, but if they don't find a suitable candidate inside, then they would go external and advertise the role to the broader community. So that could be another policy the business would have to help facilitate the recruitment and selection of a person. Another one is your engagement with employment agencies. Now, a lot of businesses use employment agencies at various different levels. They can use an employment agency such as a person or an organisation to go and advertise for a role, shortlist people, run some initial interviews, and then present to the company 2 or 3 likely candidates that would be suitable for a full-time or a part-time permanent role with the business. So that's one way of using the agency. Another way could be where the agency is actually the employer of the individual, and the individual simply comes to your place of work where they work. In those situations where the agency actually pays the salary, they pay superannuation, they withhold tax to pay on the employee's behalf. So quite different relationships, and there holds another, complexity around how we manage staff and whether they're our staff or their staff managed through an external employment agency. So that's some food for thought in terms of policies around how we engage with employment agencies. Another one is to, and a critical one, most businesses neglect this, and it's such a critical document, is having an up-to-date, current, accurate position descriptions. And in our next session, we're going to talk in more detail exactly what a position description is, and therefore you'll get some value out of that. But having that clear position description will give you a framework to go through the selection and recruiting process. Another one is foreign workers. Some businesses rely very heavily on foreign workers, so it's around having policy based on our current laws on visas, whether they're working visas, whether people are here on 457 visas or student visas. So there needs to be some framework and some policies around some of those visa regulations and obligations that a business has to comply with those visa parameters. Also, rates of pay. Now, depending on your industry, depending on your business, you can either select to pay your staff at the award rate or above the award rate. This will, of course, depend on the market, the labour market, and what sort of demand there is for people, and how you would pay them accordingly. So next time we're going to catch up, as I mentioned before, we'll go through the job description in much more detail and also selection criteria. Thanks for your time today. I'm Kevin Egan, and I look forward to catching up with you next time.